We are talking the movie Scarecrows, which is actually a 2017 movie. I know there has been quite a few movies with kind of a scarecrow motif. One of my favourite movies, the 1984 movie, again called Scarecrows. This isn't it. This is a 2017 horror movie directed by Stuart Stone, and this isn't really a killer scarecrow movie. Just to kind of let you know right off the bat, it is actually about a kind of a serial killer who kills trespassers and actually uses his victims and puts them up as scarecrows. So the story focuses on these kind of four friends. They kind of want to go to, a lagoon in the middle of nowhere on their sort of spring break or something, and they happen to trespass on this guy's land basically, and end up coming face to face with him. And this guy kind of wants to put them up as his scarecrows, and obviously do nasty things to them. What happens? You have to watch the movie to find out. So let's discuss Scarecrows. So what works with this movie? Something surprising, actually, that I wasn't really expecting. This movie's humour actually works quite well. I feel a lot of the the horror comedies that we get, a lot of the humour doesn't work. And this isn't really a horror comedy per se, but it does have some quite good comedy beats in it. In particular, I feel maybe the editing here is particularly good, and the way it's kind of mixed with certain musical cues, I feel works really well. And there's actually some genuine funny moments involving the kind of overlay music and stuff like that. That's actually done quite well. And all of the characters are the typical typical characters that you will see from horror movies. You've got the jock, you've got the slutty girl, you've got the innocent girl, and the more the wholesome guy and all that. They still had layers to their personality to a certain degree, so that was quite refreshing as well. The actual obviously idea of being put up as a scarecrow and being hung there is obviously pretty scary. We've seen stuff like that in movies before, Children of the Corn, things like that, but nonetheless, it still is a scary premise. But what doesn't work with this movie, there doesn't seem to be a lot going on, if I'm completely honest. It seems to take ages until we get to any type of threats for these guys. And I've got to say, the killer looks like Crocodile Dundee. It's really disappointing. I mean, this guy should have been dressed up as a scarecrow himself. There's one scene where he is, but that's not his normal thing. He literally looks like Crocodile Dundee, and he's got this this big sort of cowboy hat. And the way that they've made the actor move and stuff, it looks like he's just posturing all the time, and he looks quite ridiculous. I've got this, the way he moves, and obviously he tries to keep his face under the shade of this cowboy hat. It looks really ridiculous, I've got to say. So the killer itself was kind of disappointing. The visual effects when they're this guy's sewing up mouths and stuff looks okay, but there's just not much of it, to be honest. I mean, like I said, the actual violence doesn't really start until quite late in the film. We do get a couple of shots here and there of previous no-name victims and stuff, but there doesn't seem to be a lot to it. I think maybe they needed to have a bigger group of kids to be kicked off and stuff like that. I did like there's an introduction of a character quite late in the game who is, maybe an ally of maybe an unusual sort. I did quite like that inclusion, but not much is done with it. The killer itself was disappointing. There wasn't a lot to the actual story. You spend a lot of time with these characters, just going through the relationship stuff, and it's great to do that for character building for a while, but it feels like you just want to get onto it. And when the horror stuff comes in, it's okay. you know, it's serviceable kind of like horror scenes basically, but nothing that's going to kind of blow your socks off ultimately. So this film becomes passable, but nothing spectacular, unfortunately. Nothing that will blow your socks off. And some of the kind of, although I did like some of the humour, some of the horror elements didn't actually work. The killer was way disappointing. But if you want to see a killer Crocodile Dundee serial killer, maybe this is the movie for you, eh? So I'm going to give this movie a 4 out of 10. Ultimately, it is passable, but there's just not much to recommend, unfortunately. I mean, you don't watch this movie expecting a comedy. I like the comedy that was in it, but that's not what the primary draw is going to be here, so I can't really give it too much props for that. So 4 out of 10 for me. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.